Live from WRAL News headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
A Raleigh high school is on lockdown at this hour. We have Sky 5 over the scene and a crew on the way. I'll tell you what we've learned from the WRAL Live Center. Also, at least 6 people are wounded and 1 person is in custody after a shooting at a high school in St. Louis. We're monitoring the up-to-the-minute updates.
And drivers in Raleigh will have to pay attention to a new traffic pattern. It's all part of a 2-year construction project aimed at alleviating congestion at a very busy intersection.
Breaking news this noon, a Raleigh high school is on lockdown due to a fight on campus.
Let's get right back to Michelle McConaughey in the WRAL Live Center. Michelle, we understand this is unfolding at East Rake High School in Wendell?
Yeah, that is correct, Ken. Local law enforcement officials were sent to the school. We actually have live video here from Sky 5. They were sent to the school this morning in Wendell. The school was moved into a code red lockdown. That is the highest level of lockdown. It means there is an immediate threat to the school. During this lockdown, no one is allowed to enter or exit the building unless the school receives an all clear from police. Several police cars were seen in the parking lot around noon. You can see some officers here. We have Chad Flowers in Sky 5. Chad, what are you seeing from your vantage point?
Hey, Michelle, we are seeing some of the Wake County Sheriff's Department officials on the ground there, as you can see, walking around, monitoring the situation. There are multiple Wake County Sheriff's vehicles parked out in front of the school. As you can see, there's also a lot of parents showing up, if you can see them in the middle of the screen there. And also they have pretty much packed the front of the school with their cars, and they're all waiting out front for the code red to lockdown to be lifted so that their children can come out of the school. As you can imagine, probably the parents are probably anxiety ridden, and they're wanting to show up and see their children, not sure of exactly what's going on inside. But as of right now, it looks like everything is locked down. Police are on the scene. We've not seen anybody coming and going out of the school, but as of right now, everything looks to be fairly calm at the school. Michelle?
All right. Chad, thank you. Now to breaking news unfolding right now in St. Louis, where 5 people were injured when a gunman opened fire inside a high school. This is video of students running out of Central Visual and Performing Arts High School. The first report of an active shooter came in around 10:15 this morning. Police were able to stop the shooter inside the school. They say 5 people went to the hospital with injuries ranging from gunshot wounds to shrapnel injuries. The shooter was also injured. The scene remains very active at this hour. St. Louis police and the FBI are expected to speak soon. We'll keep you updated as more information is released.
And we're getting new insight into a shooting in Oxford that sent 6 people to the hospital, including 2 children. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan spent the morning listening to emergency radio calls and talking to witnesses. She joins us live in Granville County with this new information. Chelsea, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ken. We want to show you where that happened here in Oxford. We understand here on Piedmont Avenue, it took place near that gray home that you see sitting back off the road. 6 people shot, 2 of them children. Oxford police say the youngest child was 18 months old. The oldest victim in the shooting was 64. Witnesses say the shooting happened around 9:30 Saturday. It's right near downtown Oxford. Some here in town tell me they heard more than 50 shots fired. This happened about a half a mile from the Oxford Police Department. All 6 victims were transported to a local hospital. 4 of those victims were transported via helicopter to hospitals outside here of Oxford. Witnesses who were at the nearby brewery downtown said they heard several shots fired from a car that quickly sped away. As you mentioned, I listened to that radio traffic from Saturday night where it appears a fight broke out and prompted this gun violence.
Scene secure. We got 1 infant shot, 1 male subject down behind the residence. If you can get some more people out here, we'll appreciate it. We got a large crowd.
Now, both Oxford police and the SBI are investigating. I've tried to reach out to the police chief here in Oxford all morning to get any information on the condition of these victims or a suspect, as someone knows who obviously pulled the trigger. And we understand, hearing from witnesses here on the scene, that a suspect did speed out of the Piedmont area very quickly, but we have yet to hear back from Oxford police. Back to you.
Many families impacted by that shooting. Chelsea Donovan in Granville County. Chelsea, thanks.
Rishi Sunak says becoming Britain's prime minister is the greatest privilege of his life. The former finance minister will take over the ruling Conservative Party after Liz Truss resigned just 44 days after taking office. The 42-year-old is the first British Asian to assume the duties of the prime minister. Sunak will take over leadership of a country that is currently in political and economic turmoil, which led to the resignations of Boris Johnson and Liz Truss. In less than 2 hours, Governor Cooper will take part in a celebration for a 7-story tower over a Hindu temple in Cary. The Sri Venkateshwara Temple of North Carolina built an 87-foot tall gateway tower. This is video of the tower's construction last year. It is the tallest tower of its kind in the U.S. Intricate concrete faces and figures surround each story of the tower, which conveys Indian mythologies.
Well, this week, the families of 2 people killed in the mass shooting in Raleigh will say their final goodbyes. This weekend, there was a memorial motorcycle ride and other events honoring Raleigh police officer Gabriel Torres. You may have seen the riders gathering along Six Forks Road, then riding through downtown Raleigh all the way to Garner. Multiple law enforcement agencies escorted them during the ride. A nonprofit called Operation Fly Our Flag organized that tribute. Riders paid $20 apiece to be part of the event. All of the money is going to Officer Torres' family. Well, later this week, there's a visitation and funeral service for Nicole Connors in Dayton, Ohio. That's happening Thursday. That service will be live streamed on Facebook. And there's a memorial service for Mary Marshall this Saturday, which was the scheduled date for her wedding.
The teen accused of killing 4 classmates at a Michigan high school pleaded guilty to all charges against him. Ethan Crumbley opened fire at the high school in Oxford, Michigan last November, killing 4 students and injuring 7 others. Today, the now 16-year-old pleaded guilty to 24 felony charges, including first-degree murder and terrorism. In the hearing, Crumbley said the gun used in the shooting was purchased by his father. A judge accepted the plea and set a next hearing date for February. Happening tonight, leaders of Spring Lake will meet as the hiring of their new town manager remains in limbo. Last week, North Carolina Treasurer Dale Folwell refused to provide funding for the newly hired manager of Spring Lake. The Board of Aldermen approved the hiring of Justine Jones for the job. She was fired from the same position in Kenly in August after claims that she created a toxic work environment. But an independent investigation found no evidence of that. The mayor of Spring Lake wants to meet with Folwell one-on-one, but Folwell wants that conversation to happen in public. The aldermen meet again tonight at 6.
The results are in for tests aimed at measuring student progress nationwide. North Carolina posted its worst scores in at least 20 years. That's on track with the numbers we're seeing nationally, actually. Wake County school leaders will discuss state standardized test scores. The district's Committee on Student Achievement will talk about pandemic learning loss. Coming up in our next half hour, we'll hear from education experts who call the results of the new report unacceptable. Taking a look now at stocks as we monitor what's going on in the stock market today. You can see the Dow Jones really on the plus side this noon hour, up more than 350 points.
Major changes for a busy intersection in Raleigh started this morning. Hillsborough Street at Blue Ridge Road shut down for a project expected to take 2 years to complete. WRAL's Laura Levine explains how the new interchange will look when it's done and how it will affect the commute.
It is very loud and busy out here as DOT workers and vehicles move in and out this area. This is at the intersection of Blue Ridge and Barrow Road. You can see here at the railroad tracks that the road is now closed. This is for the long-awaited Blue Ridge construction project with the goal to help alleviate congestion at this busy intersection. Here's a look at a map showing the areas impacted. Over the next 2 years, the DOT will build an underpass that will carry Blue Ridge Road under Hillsborough Street, Barrow Road, and the NC Railroad tracks that all meet at the southeast corner of the State Fairgrounds. Essentially, the project will raise the railroad tracks and eliminate that crossing near the busy intersection. We spoke with Brandon Jones, the division engineer, about this significant project.
It really makes up one of the more complicated signal systems in the state. because of all the railroad preemptions and 2 full movement intersections back to back.
When the underpass is done, both Blue Ridge and Hillsborough will also have sidewalks for the first time. This will not impact any rail service. The project is expected to take 2 years to complete, so this means we will see some road closures as well during the North Carolina State Fair next year and the North Carolina State University football season. Laura Levine, WRAL News, Raleigh.
Tonight, you can learn more about a plan to replace 3 bridges on I-95 in Johnson County. The bridges are all in the town of Micro. Here's a map of where they are. Exit 101 at Pittman Road, exit 102 at East Main Street, and another at exit 105 at Bagley Road. The DOT says the bridges are nearing the end of their service life and the 3 interchanges are functionally obsolete. That means they're still safe for travel, but they no longer meet the demands of the traffic using them. The proposed safety improvements include taller and wider bridges, a realignment of some roads around the exits, as well as new ramps. You can drop in anytime during the open house. It is tonight from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Farm at I-95 in Selma.
Also tonight, you can have your voices heard on major changes in the Bull City. Tonight, the Fayetteville Street Planning Group is hosting a conversation about growth, economic development, and public safety in Durham. 3 members of the Durham City Council will be there to discuss what they want to see for the historic Fayetteville Street corridor. You can join the conversation tonight at the Phoenix Event Center from 6 to 8 p.m. Jury selection begins in the criminal trial against former President Trump's real estate company. Next at noon, the charges the organization is facing and what we could hear from the prosecution's star witness.
Plus, you're looking at live pictures from Sky 5 over East Wake High School in Wendell. The school is under a code red lockdown after a report of a fight on campus. Sheriff's deputies are there on scene as well as parents. We have not seen any students exiting the building. We are monitoring the scene and making calls to get new information for you. We'll continue to update this story over the next 45 minutes right here and online.
Also coming up, we're experiencing a fall warm-up around here, but in Utah, ski resorts are experiencing their first snowfall. What this could mean for the winter tourist season. Brian.
It is a fall warm-up, a beautiful afternoon right now as we take a look at that live camera in downtown Warrenton. A warm week ahead, but I am tracking a cold front that will bring temperatures down just a little bit. We will time it out for you coming up.
Download the new WRAL streaming apps on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and Android TV.
Here in the Live Center, a Columbus County sheriff is going to resign effective immediately. Jody Green was suspended from office for making racist remarks about his black employees. District Attorney John Davis said Green also abused his power for personal gain by arresting residents who talked down to him and threatening to arrest county commissioners without justification. The petition also details a sexual relationship between Green and a detective underneath his command, they say, which at some points happened while Green and that detective were both on duty together.
Well, a criminal trial against the Trump organization is scheduled to begin today. The organization is accused of a tax fraud scheme spanning about 15 years. Here's Amy Kiley with a preview of that case.
Jury selection is set to begin today in the trial of former President Donald Trump's real estate company. The Trump organization is charged with an alleged tax fraud scheme that involved paying executives off the books.
A company can't go to jail, but this can be very, very problematic for his company.
Trump's longtime CFO is expected to be the star witness. Alan Weisselberg pleaded guilty to 15 related felony counts in August. Those pleas and his testimony are in return for a lighter sentence. As for Trump himself,
he is not personally charged. I don't expect that that's going to change, although it obviously could.
That criminal trial is separate from the New York Attorney General's civil lawsuit. She's suing Trump, his company, and his 3 oldest children. That's for allegedly misrepresenting assets to get favorable loan rates and tax benefits. And those aren't Trump's only legal problems. A leader of the January 6 House Select Committee is giving new details about how he might testify before the panel.
It may take multiple days. And it will be done with a level of rigor and discipline and seriousness that it deserves.
Representative Liz Cheney says Trump's testimony would not be televised.
He's not going to turn this into a circus. This is far too serious set of issues.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Well, it's unclear if the former president will appear before the House Select Committee. He called the investigation a, quote, witch hunt, but never said if he would comply with the subpoena.
Ski resorts in Utah are experiencing their first snow of the season. Many resorts are excited because the snowfall means more visitors. It means they can start drumming up excitement, ramping up advertising for skiers and snowboarders in the state. Many resorts in Utah plan on opening before Thanksgiving. And now let's get a check of the weather with meteorologist Brian Schrader. No chance for snow today, just lots of sunny skies and beautiful temperatures.
Snow would not stand much of a chance right now in downtown Sanford. As we take a look at that live camera there, a beautiful blue sky. Temperatures warming up at 66 degrees right now in Sanford. Have a light northeasterly wind at 3 miles an hour. Warming up throughout the region right now as we take a look at those live temperatures ranging from 64 up along the border counties there in Roxborough at 64, 68 here in the Triangle, and now we're touching just about 70 in Fayetteville and Clinton. It's all because we're seeing a lot of sunshine, and as we take a look at our visible satellite picture, some of us started the day with some clouds, especially in the eastern side of the state. We have a low pressure offshore and then a high pressure centered over the western part of North Carolina. And remember, the way that the winds blow around these systems. Around a high pressure system, you've got clockwise flow. Around a low pressure system, counterclockwise flow. So we have a lot of dry air pushing in from the north and west. And as we put that visible satellite into motion through the morning, you can see where that dry air scoured out those clouds. And right now, the only places in our viewing area still seeing some cloud cover up around Northampton and Halifax counties. And that should clear out as we head through the rest of the afternoon. We're calling for 76 for a high here in the Triangle area later today. And you see that around the rest of our viewing area, we're going to be touching almost 80 in Fayetteville later this afternoon. And it's a similar story for tomorrow, where we see a similar warm up in those temperatures again in the upper 70s to around 80 in Fayetteville. But we're watching a big weather maker that moves in for Wednesday. By Wednesday morning, we should have a cold front moving into the western part of the state. Ahead of it, we have some clouds and just a slight chance of a couple of showers. This is not a very strong cold front. It doesn't have much moisture to work with or a lot of energy to work with, but we can't rule out some showers with partly cloudy skies on Wednesday. And then behind that front, we'll see much drier weather as we head through the rest of the week. So taking a look at that 7-day forecast, pretty warm all the way through Wednesday. And then we have that frontal passage calling for a 20% chance of showers right now. This is not going to be a washout, but a couple of us could see a shower. And then behind that front, you see as we head to the weekend, it dries out. Those temperatures start to come down a little bit closer to normal. By the end of the week, our normals are in the mid-60s, so we're still going to be a little warmer than normal, but certainly going to feel a little more like fall than the 80-degree readings that we'll likely see in a couple of places at least tomorrow. Heading into the weekend, you see it's going to be beautiful. If you have Halloween party plans for Friday or Saturday night, looks terrific. We are tracking a system that could bring us some showers heading Sunday, maybe into Monday. Still trying to iron out the details there. Also, the tropics still are active. Coming up in our next half hour, we'll take a closer look at an area that we are watching that could become a tropical system.
Brian, thanks. 2020 election deniers made allegations that ballots had been falsified and added in after the fact. Today at 4, WRAL's Laura Leslie shows us why that's just about impossible to do here in North Carolina. Then later at 6.
Should you keep blankets and stuffed animals in your crib? Well, 5 on your side will tell you the answer and break down a new Safe Sleep Act to keep your baby safe.
But our news continues now at noon, while Walmart is relaunching and renaming its intimates and sleepwear line.
And have a dog that loves the camera? How your four-legged friend could be the next yappy influencer. We are already at 70 degrees and climbing. Look at this beautiful view of Fayetteville Street, downtown Raleigh. You're watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. Have a dog that loves the camera? They could be the next pup influencer. And there's a new #1 at the weekend box office. Maribel Aber reports.
Soaring inflation and the risk of a recession aren't slowing the American consumer. American Express says overall customer spending jumped 21% year over year last quarter. Spending on food, entertainment, and especially travel has been strong. And fellow credit card giant Bank of America has seen 10% more transaction volume in recent weeks versus a year ago. The CEO says Bank of America just isn't seeing slower spending despite talk of inflation and a recession. Black Adam stormed to first place at the weekend box office. The Dwayne Johnson superhero adventure rang up $67 million in ticket sales. It's the first movie to top $50 million in its debut since Marvel's Thor: Love and Thunder back in July. Another new release, Ticket to Paradise, came in second this weekend with $16 million in box office receipts. That was a better than expected showing for the romantic comedy featuring Julia Roberts and George Clooney. Okay, your dog has a shot at earning $10,000 a year as a pup influencer. Yappy.com is looking to hire a dog to be its first chief fluff officer. The online retailer of gifts for dogs is looking for a canine that's a natural in front of the camera. Yappy says the winner will be comfortable showing off their best poses, sassy struts, and tail wags while trying out gifts. You and your dog can apply at yappy.com. The deadline for applications is November 18th. And those are your business headlines. I'm Maribel Aber at the NASDAQ market site.
Walmart is relaunching and renaming its best-selling intimates and sleepwear line. The new brand, Joyspun, debuts as Walmart gears up for the holidays, and it's trying to attract more shoppers with its low-price groceries. Sales of intimates and sleepwear have grown significantly during the pandemic as retailers catered to people's desire for comfort, better fit, and body positivity.
Well, Royal Caribbean Group says despite high inflation and the possibility of a recession, more people are traveling, which is helping the company, of course. Royal Caribbean is launching its latest ship, the Icon of the Seas. The new ship is considered the next generation of family vacations. The company's CEO says cruises do well because of strong value and high quality. Well, more electric vehicle charging stations could be hacked, according to One Technology Group. Experts at Checkpoint Software Technology say EV stations are vulnerable to attacks and need hacking prevention. Hackers can manipulate back-end servers. Drivers' identities can be falsified with toll systems. EV owners should use unique passwords, two-phase authentication, and use separate credit cards for EV charging to track transactions.
A new report confirms what many believed about the impact school closures and remote learning had during the pandemic. Education experts say the results are unacceptable.
And feeling lucky? Buy a Powerball ticket. Tonight's drawing is worth $610 million. Some expert advice, just in case you hit the jackpot.
We want to get back to that breaking news we told you about at the top of the hour. A Wake County high school is on code red lockdown due to a reported fight on campus. WRAL photojournalist Chad Flowers is live over East Wake High School in Wendell with what he can see from the air. Chad.
Hey, Renee. As you said, East Wake High School is on code red lockdown. A lot of the parents have shown up over the last 30 to 45 minutes. As you can see, this is the entrance to the office, and there's probably 40 or 50 parents standing up underneath that overhang waiting for the doors to be opened so that they can be reunited with their children who go to school there. As you said, we've seen a lot of police activity. The Wake County Sheriff's Department has multiple vehicles here. We've seen them walking around the school, coming and going out of this door right here in particular. And we've seen motorcycle and bicycle cops walking and riding through the parking lots over on this side of the building as well. So lots of police activity, lots of sheriff's deputies on the scene, and lots of parents waiting for their waiting to be reunited with their children when they get the all clear and the school is reopened. Renee?
Thanks, Chad. And what we've heard from the school, once again, that this was after a report of a fight at East Wake High School in Wendell. We will continue to follow the story here on WRAL and online.
Well, new government data shows a major drop in both math and reading comprehension among U.S. students in 4th and 8th grade. North Carolina posted its worst test scores in at least 20 years. That's on track with the numbers we're seeing nationally. In our state, 4th and 8th grade students scored worse on math and reading exams this spring than before the pandemic. And the drop in math scores is the biggest in the history of this test. Mark Meredith shares reaction from education experts who call the report unacceptable.
America's students are falling behind. The National Center for Education Statistics says its latest report shows a drop-off in math and reading comprehension among 4th and 8th grade students. The results are tied to tests taken this spring and compared to data from 2019. Since the pandemic began, 4th grade math scores dropped by 5 points. 8th grade scores fell by a staggering 8 points.
In the 50-year history of the assessment, the results show that we had the first ever drop in mathematics.
The same was true for reading. Government data shows a 3-point decline in reading comprehension for both 4th and 8th grade students. It's the biggest decrease since 1992, and education experts say the results could have generational consequences.
This really is important that kids learn how to read and learn how to calculate math in a way that allows them to live a life of purpose and meaning. And right now, that is at risk.
The COVID-19 pandemic left millions of children taking classes online. The report's authors say no state was spared from learning setbacks during that time, and Education Secretary Miguel Cardona calls the results unacceptable.
If this is not a wake-up call for us to double down our efforts and improve education, even before before the pandemic, then I don't know what will.
Well, that was Mark Meredith reporting. With all this in mind, this afternoon, Wake County school leaders will discuss state standardized test scores. The district's Committee on Student Achievement will talk about pandemic learning loss.
And Michelle McConaughey back here in the Live Center with a very sad update. Police are saying that 3 people were killed in that shooting at a St. Louis high school. We had an update at the beginning of the show. They were reporting that 6 people were injured. Now police are confirming 3 were killed, including the shooter, an adult, and a girl. This all happened at the Central Visual and Performing Arts High School in St. Louis. Police were able to stop the shooter inside the school. It happened just after 9 o'clock this morning. Students were barricaded inside and huddled in classroom corners. Within minutes, the school was surrounded by dozens of police vehicles, but they are now reporting at this hour that 3 have been killed, including the shooter.
President Biden is scheduled to get another COVID vaccine tomorrow, and he wants the rest of America to follow suit. So far, 20 million Americans have gotten updated vaccines. In addition to the original virus, the newest vaccines are designed to combat the Omicron subvariants. We're working to learn more about a report of a sexual assault on the campus of UNC. UNC police say an unknown person followed a student into the building and back to their room where the assault occurred. This happened between 5 and 5:30 p.m. Saturday in the Carmichael Residence Hall. Police say the investigation is ongoing.
The healing from the mass shooting that took 5 lives in Raleigh 10 days ago is only just beginning. Yesterday, hundreds of people gathered in downtown Raleigh for a vigil to remember the victims and help build a movement to stop gun violence. The city of Raleigh, the Raleigh Apex NAACP, and the group Moms Demand Action organized the event. Governor Cooper joined Raleigh Mayor Marianne Baldwin at the vigil in a call for action.
We must keep pushing our legislators to have the political courage to tackle the issue of gun violence head on and to have the willingness to try and seek common sense, common ground.
Governor Cooper says lawmakers must consider red flag laws, fund education programs for safe gun storage, and invest in mental health resources. The city of Raleigh also offering support to people who need it following that mass shooting. The city has a website and has a number of resources all in one place. Among them, mental health support, information on how to help the victims' families, and more. You can get to it from the city's homepage.
Do you have your Powerball ticket yet? There's still time to buy one. Tonight's drawing is worth an estimated $610 million, the 8th largest jackpot in Powerball history. If the winner takes the cash option on this, that's $292.6 million. And look at this, the odds of hitting the jackpot are roughly 1 in 292 million.
You got to be in it to win it, right? So I hope it's the lucky one. I use the same numbers all the time.
Now, if you do have the winning ticket, legal experts say keep in mind you want to have some proof that the ticket is yours. So you may want to take a selfie with it, showing your ticket and yourself, and then sign the back of that ticket and keep it in a safe place. Next, consider hiring a financial advisor and a therapist to help you through the big changes coming your way. Also consider donating some of it to charity because that can help you with your taxes. We are well aware our commercial breaks are overrun with political ads. Only 2 more weeks, and we'll explain how those ads could impact voter turnout for the midterms.
Also, what happens now after court temporarily put the brakes on President Biden's student loan forgiveness program, while the White House says borrowers should still apply. And if you see news happening or you'd like to share a story idea with us, click Report It in the WRAL News app. We're just about 2 weeks away from the midterm elections, and all across the country, campaigns are ramping up efforts to secure enough votes come November 8th.
Political analysts are predicting large numbers of people will turn out. Richard Jordan takes a look at which tactics could backfire and cause people not to go out and vote.
With midterm elections right around the corner, a new Associated Press NORC poll finds 71% of voters believe the future of the country is at stake this November, regardless of their political affiliation.
Majorities of Republicans and Democrats are deeply dissatisfied with the way things are going in the country and pessimistic about the state of politics. Despite that, the poll shows us that voters are motivated to turn out this year. More than 8 in 10 registered voters say it is extremely or very important to them to cast a ballot in this year's elections.
The data suggests the potential for high voter turnout next month. But just like any poll, analysts say the findings are never an exact prediction of the end results. Instead, polls are better for gauging voter attitude on important issues, which could play a role in how they vote.
It's important to have a healthy level of skepticism about polls that are conducted before the election. Who is actually going to go and vote on Election Day is something that a pollster cannot tell you ahead of time. That's probably one of the big reasons for polls being a little bit off in recent elections.
Meanwhile, according to Professor Marjorie Hershey of Indiana University, exposure to negative political ads near the end of a campaign can actually weaken voter turnout.
Conflict is inevitable about politics, but it's also very disconcerting. If they see a lot of attacks against that person they've decided to vote for, one of the things that is, at least in part, likely to happen is that they'll decide, oh, I can't really figure out whether this attack is warranted or not, so maybe I'll just forget the election.
And that was Richard Jordan reporting. Early voting continues here in North Carolina. It is available in every county. The deadline is 3 p.m. on November 5th. You can find everything you need to know about casting your vote on the WRAL Voter Guide, available on WRAL.com.
Coming up, an appeals court puts the Biden administration's student debt relief plan on hold. What this means for students hoping to take advantage of that opportunity. And the real estate market might be cooling off, how home buyers are gaining leverage in the market. The Biden administration is moving forward with plans to partially wipe out student loan debt for millions of Americans. Josh Liederman reports.
22 million Americans who already applied for student debt relief are in limbo after an appeals court temporarily froze President Biden's signature program. A setback for borrowers like Morgan Downing, a Harvard grad student who was expecting to see some of her $46,000 student debt disappear. Now,
it was just really disappointing, really upsetting. I don't know what my next move would be other than knowing that I'm facing even more debt.
The court saying no debt can be canceled for now, while it considers a challenge from Republican-led states who want to kill the program for good. The order coming just hours after Mr. Biden visited a public college to promote the plan.
Today,
We're following through on a promise I gave to millions of Americans with student loans, just a little more breathing room.
The election year plan would cancel up to $10,000 a person, or $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients. Only individuals earning less than $125,000 a year are eligible.
It seems profoundly unfair after the fact to forgive some group of people, and then the tax bill will end up going right on the shoulders of those people who've already either not taken out any debt or paid off their debt.
The White House insists it's full speed ahead, urging borrowers to keep applying at studentaid.gov while the court battles continue.
With all of this in limbo, are you still encouraging your friends to go ahead and submit that application for debt relief?
I'm still telling people that they need to put this application in. My hope is that they see these numbers continue to rise.
And that was Josh Lederman reporting. Now listen up as we show you who qualifies. Anyone who is still paying back a student loan owned by the federal government and disbursed before July 1st, 2022, as long as their personal income is below $125,000 a year if they're filing as a single person, or if their household income is below $250,000 a year if they're married and filing jointly.
Home buyers nationwide are gaining some leverage in the market. New data released by real estate firm Redfin shows homes are taking twice as long to sell as they did just a few months ago. Redfin says homes were on the market for a median period of 34 days during a 4-week period during October 16th. That's more than a week longer than the typical wait this time last year. And in early June, the wait time was a record low 17 days on the market. You'll be able to put more away for your tax-deferred retirement plan next year. The IRS says it is increasing the contribution limits for those plans by a record amount. You'll be able to contribute up to $22,500 next year into your 401k, 403b, and other savings plans. That's $2,000 more than the current limit. The limit for traditional and Roth IRAs will go up $6,000. The IRS says it is making the changes because of inflation. Our temperatures, you might say, are inflating as we speak into the 70s. I'll be fine with that, Brian.
Yeah. That was good. That's good. That's exactly what's happening. We are seeing temperatures warming up here as we take a live look at downtown Apex. It's beautiful out there. You see just blue skies, and temperatures are warming closer to 70 degrees. We're now at 68 degrees at RDU International. And taking a look at the next few hours, we're going to see those temperatures climbing on into the 70s, calling for a high later this afternoon in the mid-70s with a lot of sunshine. And we're going to have a warm week for the next several days. Taking a look at our temperature anomaly map. So what you see here, the warmer colors indicate where the temperatures are warmer than normal, and the cooler colors are where it's a little colder than normal. And as we put it into motion, you can see those southwesterly winds are going to bring that warmer air here into the Carolinas over the next few days. Then once we get into Wednesday, we're going to see a little bit of a change. A weak cold front comes through that'll knock our temperatures down just a little bit. Normal high this time of year for Raleigh is about 70 degrees. We're calling for 77 tomorrow, 78 on Wednesday, and then behind that weak cold front, we're going to see temperatures down to about 75 on Thursday. Here's a look at that front. Wednesday morning, pushing into the western part of the state. Most of the energy with this is going to go up to our north, so this front's not going to have much in the way of energy and moisture to work with. But I think Wednesday we're going to see more clouds and a chance of a shower as we put this into motion here. Heading into Wednesday afternoon, you can see it barely generates any precipitation in our area, so just a slight chance of seeing a shower as that comes through. And behind it, we'll see drier weather, and as I mentioned, the temperatures are going to come down just a little bit as we head a little closer to the weekend. In our last half hour, I mentioned that we're watching the tropics still. Of course, hurricane season isn't over for a little while yet. And this orange area out here around Bermuda, they're watching that carefully. The National Hurricane Center believes there's a 40% chance that this could develop into a tropical or subtropical system over the next 5 days or so. And they're specifically saying as it approaches Bermuda, it could become a tropical or subtropical system as early as this evening. And then beyond that, it probably turns off to the north and will not pose any threat to the United States, but just wanted to let you know that that was out there. And there's another area just to the south of that where they're monitoring it for a 20% chance of development over the next few days. Our 7-day forecast shows us that warm up, and there's that 20% chance of a shower as that cold front moves through Wednesday afternoon. Just be aware of that. Don't change any plans outside because of it. A few clouds, and behind that front, we'll see those temperatures coming back down a little closer to normal as we head into the weekend. Right now, if you have any Halloween party plans for Friday or Saturday night, it looks perfect.
Yeah, perfect for the weekend, Brian, thanks. Well, we could finally get new answers about UFOs coming up when the report is expected to be released. As we wrap things up this noon hour, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today. East Wake High School is in a code red lockdown due to a reported fight on campus. Sky 5 over that scene right now as law enforcement respond to that scene. And they're zooming in right now. You see a number of parents under that awning there of that school waiting to see if they can take their children out of school right now. But the code red is the highest level of lockdown. It means there is an immediate threat to the school. Right now, no one is allowed to enter or exit that building unless the school has received an all clear from police, and that has not happened yet.
2 people are dead after shooting at a high school in St. Louis. The police commissioner there says that includes an adult, a girl, and the shooter is also dead. Police said 8 people total were taken to the hospital with injuries. As students were running out of the building, they told officers there was a shooter armed with a long gun.
Major changes for a busy intersection in Raleigh started this morning. Hillsborough Street at Blue Ridge Road shut down for a project expected to take about 2 years. Once the project is done, Blue Ridge will pass beneath Hillsborough Street, the railroad tracks, and Barrel Road. A new street will connect Hillsborough and Blue Ridge. There is a detour in place.
eBay says it will no longer allow listings for Jeffrey Dahmer Halloween costumes. eBay cited its policy that does not allow listings that promote or glorify violence or violent acts. Interest in the cannibal and serial killer has spiked since the release of the Netflix series Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. The series has been criticized for being insensitive to Dahmer's victims.
Former NASA astronaut Scott Kelly is joining the NASA team to study UFO sightings. NASA announced a team of 16 people will be working on the study for the next 9 months. The team is made up of astronomers, astrophysicists, biologists, former Pentagon officials, and a former NASA astronaut. They will analyze unclassified data and look at ways NASA can improve its analysis of it. NASA plans to release the team's findings to the public late next year.
The streets of Mexico City, Mexico were lined with people for the annual Day of the Dead parade. The tradition allows families to remember the dead and celebrate the continuity of life. Mexicans set up offerings to the dead, which include photographs, food, candles, flowers, personal items, skulls made out of sugar, skeletons of paper mache, and sweets. November 2nd is Dia de los Muertos, or All Souls Day, which interweaves Spanish influences with indigenous ancestor worship in South America.
My son sacrificed his life to save me. Over fire! War going. Now, I kneel before no one.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson took the top spot at the box office with Black Adam. The movie brought in about $67 million for its opening weekend. That is the largest domestic opening ever for Johnson in a leading role. It is the first film since Disney and Marvel's Thor: Love and Thunder topped $50 million in its debut.
Our pet of the day is a tabby extraordinaire. Meet Huntress, a brown tabby from Safe Haven for Cats. This 4.5-year-old girl is sassy, full of life. She's been waiting for her forever home for a while now and living in a foster home. Safe Haven for Cats is open for adoptions every day but Monday. You can see her profile along with the profiles of other cats ready for adoption at safehavenforcats.org. WRAL News returns at 4, but you can get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Have a great day.
Local news doesn't stop here. Coverage continues across all major streaming platforms using the WRAL app and on WRAL.com. Your #1 source for local news. This is WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle McConaughey. Let's get an update on today's forecast. Meteorologist Kat Campbell is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. A beautiful start to our week.
It is. It's a gorgeous Monday outside. We've got a clear blue sky for most of us and temperatures sitting in the low 70s early in the afternoon. We should be in the mid 70s for most of us as we top out around 3-4 o'clock today. We're wedged between high and low pressure right now, and with this coastal low, there's still some cloud cover sitting closer to the North Carolina coast, but our local forecasting high pressure continue to build in, and this week we're going to be headed for a big warm up. Last week we had cooler than normal temperatures for the East Coast, warmer than normal out west. This week we flip-flop and we're warmer than normal in the east and cooler than normal out west. But in between the two, we have this battle zone, and there could be a pretty potent storm system that sets up for the central part of the U.S. and the Ohio Valley this week. For us here locally, though, we've got some nice weather, 72 the normal high, and we're above that, especially tomorrow and Wednesday, back in the upper 70s, even low 80s in our southern cities. After that, temperatures drop into the lower 70s as we get into the weekend. Heading out for a dog walk today should be a beautiful day to do so. Mostly sunny skies continue along with dry weather. High temperatures likely to top out in the mid 70s today here in the Triangle. 76 in Durham, 74 for Roxborough and Rocky Mount, 75 degrees in Wilson. Just to the south, check this out, nearly 80 degrees in Fayetteville this afternoon. Should be a beautiful day. And as we get into tonight, not too chilly. There could be some patchy fog that develops, but our lows tonight dip into the upper 40s to lower 50s for most of us, potentially some mid 40s up toward the Virginia line. Although we start out with the potential for fog early tomorrow, after that temperatures warm back up into the mid to upper 70s, and we're likely to see some spots hit 80 by the time we get to Wednesday. Over the next 7 days, mild temperatures expected. As cool as it gets is Sunday in the upper 60s. Just small rain chances Wednesday and Sunday, and we are a week away from Halloween, so as we get into this afternoon, you can check in on our afternoon newscast for a closer look at your first peek at your Halloween forecast. Michelle.
All right, thank you so much, Kat. We're working to learn more after East Wake High School was put on code red lockdown this morning. The school sent out an email to parents saying the school was put on lockdown due to reports of a fight on campus. We do have a crew on the scene gathering more details. Be sure to look out for an update on WRAL.com and our mobile app. And Hillsborough Street at Blue Ridge Road will be shut down starting today for a 2-year construction project. Once it's done, Blue Ridge Road will pass beneath Hillsborough Street, the railroad tracks, and Barrel Road. A new street will connect Hillsborough and Blue Ridge. A detour is in place. You're watching NBC News Daily on WRAL. We're back in 60 seconds with more local news. The results are in for tests aimed at measuring student progress nationwide. North Carolina posted its worst scores in at least 20 years. 4th and 8th grade students scored worse on math and reading exams this spring than before the pandemic. North Carolina's results are on par with national numbers. And 2020 election deniers made allegations that ballots had been falsified and added in after the fact. Today at 4, WRAL's Laura Leslie shows us why that's just about impossible to do here in North Carolina. NBC News Daily continues after this. We'll see you again with a local news update at the bottom of the hour.